Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. It's your man's and them foul shot reporting on the Bamboozled Again News Network. Pause for the cause. Here's my new stream of consciousness, right? And I've alluded to it in previous videos about how ever more an understanding or revelation that this is a simulation. And I'll try to dissect where I'm going with this, tied to scripture, tied to science, tied to mathematics, and how, how they talk about the chosen being, kind of suppressed in this, world where, Satan is the God of this world and so on and so forth. But in order to create the matrix that we had before us, we have to be suppressed. Or that's why they be doing all this, genetic stuff and, probably doing dossiers on you when you're in school or labeling you autistic or something to that effect because you're actually operating on another frequency that they have to suppress. Back when black people was coming together during the 60s and whatnot, they had to suppress the community. They had to bring in stuff that would lower your vibration. Drugs, the promotion of, pimp culture, harlotry. You don't need a man, independence. I know in the word talks about not giving a woman too much liberty. You know what I'm saying? The indoctrination through mass media, the TVs, and how they made that plentiful, and how they've created, how we're not supposed. Oh, the one ain't too bad. How we're not supposed to love the world or the things of the world. And I hate the world. I always have. I just couldn't quantify it. But I've always desired the earth, the world that we see and how it functions, 9 to 5 culture, religious belief. That's all the world that's constructed on top of the earth that we're supposed to inherit. That's why they're corrupting the earth. They're messing with the genetic aspects of plant life and, the weather and so on and so forth, right? But this, and please, Lord, help me to convey this message. So I was at work today, right? And participant, he come in, he sit down, he chop it up. Now he's had a divine intervention, right? So when me and him start chopping one on one, um, I'm seeing the Most High work in his life. He just hasn't caught it yet. But we got into it because of science, because he's been to Japan and oh man, I hope this ain't too bad. Um, he's been to Japan, so he started, more in the Eastern culture, so on and so forth, right? So he tells me these stories about having a history of attempting to unalive himself, right? But it never worked. He said one time he hung himself, but the branch broke. Yeah, but whatever tree he used, he said, man, and he's a slim guy. He said with the industrial rope, because he has military experience and so on and so forth, there's no way possible this branch is supposed to break. If anything, maybe the rope, but not the branch. Then he tells me this spectacular story, which kind of got me on the stream of consciousness. Whereas though he say he attempted to unalive himself another time, and he's drunk out his mind. He grabs his gun or whatever, and he's about to shoot himself in the dome piece, right? But this reminded me of the verse where the Most High said he caused Adam to go to sleep. So I got in vision in my mind. He said he passed out and woke up, and there was a bullet hole in the wall. So I'm like, cuz you woke up, you attempted to kill yourself, but you woke up alive in this realm. He said, yeah. He was like, man, I couldn't even do that right. So the way I picture in my mind, he's got the firearm. He's going like this, and he actually passes out. Now they say, there's a split second or whatever that is between the electrical signal from your brain telling, your body part to produce a particular motor function. So the Most High causes him to pass out, and as he's passing out, the electrical signal has already been sent. So he involuntarily still fires the firearm, even though he's not conscious, as he's falling backwards and misses himself unconsciously. These are the things that even with worldly science, we can't quantify. But when we get into things that we can't quantify, we can acknowledge that it's there even though we can't measure it. Or how them people say they look into space, which I don't know about all that, right? I don't know what they're looking into. But they say They can tell there's dark matter, or that's why they're in Switzerland trying to smash atoms to find like the God particle or dark matter or something. Probably something that's not necessarily in another world, but in another dimension or veil beyond this one, because we're trapped here anyway. But they can't see it, they can't measure it, but they can tell it's there based on what's around it and how it influences that. Just like, we can go into a room and feel energy, but you can't put it on a scale and measure it. It's something you sense beyond your five senses that you know to be true, or intuition. I can't, and I've been in that space, as of recently, where my intuition that I've learned to trust, that's coming from another place, is telling me to do something contradictory to logic. Spirituality defies logic. I believe now you should operate logically in practicality, but even if we look at the scriptures, right, he typically tells people to do illogical things to produce something. Like when they were ready to take the promised land. Okay, we've been to war, whatever, whatever. I guess we're gonna take it, but the walls are fortified. Da da da. He actually has them, if I believe this, if I remember the story correctly, march around the wall 7 times or once a day for 7 days or something to that effect, and blow a horn, and the walls came down. But what did that have to do with the wall? You know what I'm saying? With all the technological advancements that are supposed to usher us, and this has been on my mind too, the fourth industrial revolution. One component of that is transhumanism, because we're so far removed from back in the day and the purity of the world where sin becomes so rampant. Where back then, in the Old Testament, you hear about people living 600 years and all this type of stuff. The world becomes so sin ridden. This version of ourselves in this matrix has become corrupted. The way we eat, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, did they eat eggs and toast and pork sausage for breakfast during Abraham times? You know what I'm saying? When there were hunter gatherers and so on and so forth. That's why we're significantly weakened, and because we're weakened, then they can come in with pharmaceutical drugs that don't cure nothing. But back then, you had to be able to cure yourself, diagnose yourself, or go to someone who had knowledge of doing so, not for financial purposes. A doctor was never meant to be this super great. It was more of a help field. You did it because you had a heart for it, not to get rich. You know what I'm saying? But they turned natural things like the church, medicine. They've turned that into some of the biggest ways of being a profiteer that typically you kind of do for the love of the game. So we have people in industries who ain't supposed to be there for financial incentive in this version of the matrix. There's so many rabbit holes I can go down with this junk. You know what I'm saying? I forgot where I was at. Oh, now I know in the verse it talks about in the land of your captivity you'll begin to remember who you are. Now, previously the Hebrews, Israelites, they had been in captivity, but their history hadn't been erased. They might not have been, depending on where they were at, they might not have been able to practice certain things, but they still knew who they were. If you're under belief that the victims of the transatlantic slave trade are the actual scriptural Hebrews, because we really don't know where we come from, a bunch of our history is lost and can't nobody seem to find it, or it's been repressed, or whatever the case may be. Previous to, in those scriptures, they might have been wherever they were at, but they still knew who they were. So how, you know what I'm saying, can we, or God make a prophecy saying, in the land of your captivity, from afar off, and your forefathers never knew them, you'll begin to remember who you are. This awakening, or how they subverted woke culture, which is good to be awoke because it's better if you sleep. But now they went the democratic side and tied that into like alternative stuff, and whatever, whatever. Playing race baiting and all that. They always try to subvert stuff because we're destined, almost time released, to wake up at an appointed time. There's so many different ways I can go with that. And I believe it's okay. It's assimilated. Like, okay, the movie The Matrix. Me and the brother talked about this, where in I think one of the last ones, Neo ends up getting to the architect or the creator of the Matrix, and he was saying how we've run this simulation before. This is the seventh version of you, and so like in the theory of karmatic debt, where they actually have to tell you the truth, but they don't come out on a podium and tell you. They put it in movies in the form of entertainment, So they told you, but you taking it as entertainment. So I don't know how much it's actually sinking in. You know what I mean? Or the new wave of the metaverse and transhumanism and all this here. Um, but he was saying basically this is you're the seventh version. Again, number seven, from my understanding, means completion. But that version of Neo did something different where he corrupted or inverted the program that he had set. So even though I've programmed this thing a certain way and I've actually programmed you to do what you do, you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. But I'm gonna act like I know about it. But at the same time, there's this psychological cat and mouse game because I'm trying to like gaslight you into feeling like your efforts are in vain. You've done this before. But I actually don't know what this version of you is about to do now, and I'm actually scared, even though I created all this, or Satan is the God of this world. Like in the word where it say, the Most High made the end from the beginning. So of course, if he made everything, he would be able to tell someone accurate events and thousands of years later, or whatever the case may be, because technically, the Most High is the archetype. I think what we see now is science and mathematics is the subverted action of the real way the Most High used to communicate up with us using the star, not worshiping it, using mathematics, using science. You know what I'm saying? Um, Man, it deep, bro. The church has been meant to subvert us. That's why, the Pharisees, they were all kind of tied into Rome or whatever, but the church, the church and the state, even though they didn't have worldly power or esteem, the disciples, prophets, so on and so forth, still had impact and influence. So much so we still talking about what they did in their stories to this day. Or how, the black man, quote unquote, is a byword, he a thug, he a deadbeat, he this, that, and the third, to get you to play into the narrative because you're actually little gods. You know what I'm saying? You're actually almost superheroes. Technically, David, if you look at it from this perspective, oh man, it's starting to rain, was a superhero if he's able to slay a giant with 5 stones when people with swords couldn't do that. Or Samson, because his birth was kind of predestined, he was able to, beat thousands of Philistines with a jawbone and this, that, and the third, and whoop de whoop. He only got jammed up, and David as well, because the adversary or his enemies attempted to appeal to his lower nature. That's why the vibration of Babylon is low, because harlotry is everywhere, butt cheeks are everywhere, vanity, vainglory, fake fiat currency, the illusionary concept of money lowers our vibration. As I've kind of wrestled free of that, not realizing it, I feel beyond this place. You know how in the word it say we're seated, and here's the duality of things, right? Like light, dark, you need both, right? Because I've talked about on here, when I was young, I felt like I was implanted into my family. Nobody taught me this. I didn't see no movie that made me think like this. I said, I didn't really, it wasn't nothing going on abuse wise. I just felt so different. I felt like I was on earth to do something, and it was a reason why I grew up the way I grew up, or where I grew up, or the name of my school, or the places I've been, even as a young child. And the word where it say we're seated in heavenly places, or there's some part of us that's in heavenly places and also here at the same time, almost alluding to the metaverse where there are multiple. Well, not I don't want to say multiple, but there are different versions. Like my man told me this, right? I know I'm all over the place. Guys, it's starting to rain. My man told me this, right? So he was talking about space, whatever, just a concept, right? So he said if we go 6 million years away and were to turn around and shine, let's say, a light back on Earth, we would actually, in time, 6 million light years away, we could actually, in real time, there see the dinosaurs die here. You know what I mean? But you're experiencing something that happened in the past, but it's actually happening in your present from where you're at. Just like God is outside of, or how the words say, unto Yah, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like a day. How is Monday like 1,000 years, and a whole 1,000 years like a Monday? I don't think time exists, yo. I think it's a construct situated within the matrix. Just like if you have a dream, right? I've been in dreams where I constantly realize, yo, I'm dreaming, yo, but the dream feel real. I can feel emotions. I'm thinking inside the dream and realize, yo, I'm dreaming. So how real was that? Where was I at when this happened? And I remember one time I had this bad dream about I was running around Baltimore doing something. But I said, yo, I'm actually asleep in my dad's house, yo. So eventually I'll wake up, yo, there's nothing to be afraid of, da da da. But I'm in the dream, realizing I'm dreaming and knowing where I guess the real me is at and where it's located. I think that's with putting these kids or finance incentivizing the parents to get them diagnosed or pharmaceuticals suppress certain stuff and all, but they don't care enough. I think they're actually suppressing your natural superhero abilities and greatness. You know what I'm saying? I think it might not be my generation, but I think that's why the youngins are so hard to quote unquote reach. Not to me, because I'm a little different. Or I was predestined to go through a path to be able to talk a language to a people, even though they speak English, that everybody afraid of. Case in point, I gotta get up off it. Now it's starting to rain. Oh man, that's crazy. So, um, all things work for the good of those who love Yah and call according to His purpose. So I do have a thing with the community, having some semblance of an impact. You know what I mean? Whatever, right? But I can't because of the bureaucracy, the system, or whatever. I can only go but so far, and up to a point, it seemed like certain innovative ideas are curtailed because of chain of command, whatever, whatever. So my director is leaving, but in his departure, he's saying, "Yo, if y'all can't, pick up the numbers, they might cut y'all from the whoop, the whoop, the whoop." He said, so figure it out, basically. Like I said about the Steve Jobs man, when he told his people, or he asked his people how long for a computer come out, they said 2 years. He said, great, you got 6 months, make it happen, man. So now the skill set that has been honed along my journey, I now have free reign to do what I already know to do. Almost like how Steve Kerr coached Steph Curry. He's coaching him, but he wants him to play within his system. This ain't gonna work. I'm just gonna have to take the leash off of him and let him do what he do. And if I take the leash off, we'll get the said results, and I look great. Letting him do what he are, letting him be naturally him. He's literally changed the game, the way people play basketball, in order to keep up with a skill set he honed that nobody thought he could be a success in. He's not the fastest. He's not the most athletic. He's not the tallest. But he honed one skill and changed the way everybody else got to play in order to keep up with him. A game changer, right? I use this analogy where, it seemed like for the longest my life was an uphill battle, right? Why I gotta keep going up the hill? When is it gonna end, right? So check the stylistics though. Here's what I can't perceive at that time. I've been walking uphill and it's tiresome, it's grueling, you get winded, right? But what you're not perceiving as you continue, and you run the race, with endurance, right? But as you continue to go up a hill, what you're not realizing, your calves and your legs are getting stronger. You're actually getting in better cardiovascular shape, right? So let's say I reach a plateau where now I'm on level ground for a period of time. Now I meet people on this level ground. What they don't realize is I've been walking uphill so long. Now when they see me operate on a level field, it seems like I'm moving faster than them without rushing. It's like I got a weight vest on now. If I take the weight, if I'm used to doing whatever, actually doing push-ups, running back and forth, you know what I'm saying? It feels cumbersome. It's weighty. I get tired. But if I do it long enough and take it off, I'm actually faster than I was because now that which used to restrict me has been removed. So in the case of, let's say, the quote-unquote chosen, the same weight that was meant to break you actually made you stronger at a time when everything, or Babylon, or the world at large, is attempting to restrict and suppress. So once the Most High takes the weight vest off of you, you're able to run more efficiently. You're wiser. You're more calculated. You see what I'm saying? Like with me, I'm used to not having a lot, so I'm a better steward of when I do get something for all the years I didn't have. You see what I'm saying? And I haven't had it so long. I don't idolize it, or nor is it attached to my self value. It's just a resource, but it don't define me. My spirit defines my energy defines me. You know what I'm saying? How I treat people. You know what I mean? That's just the wave I've been on here recently. Like all this is it's bullshit. Like even when the words say when you're brought before these rulers and judges, I'll give you the words to say. He already knows where. This goes into my deja vu talking point when I experienced that. My time aversion is off. What was that? A couple weeks ago. Now, mind you, I've been at the job working on what 3-4 months now, and I had deja vu. I picked my phone up, and I remember my body in a certain position, and I was like, "Yo, I seen." But how have I seen something before, or remember seeing something, or being in a space that I've never been in before? So that let me know. Now I can't, prove this, but I believe it to be true. That means I'm along the right path if I'm walking into something I've never been in, yet I'm experiencing it again. You know what I'm saying? Like they say, the past don't exist, nor does the future. The only thing that exists is the present moment. So in the present moment, there's a fractioning in the space-time continuum where I'm experiencing something I've never experienced. Woo! Watch out there now. And simultaneously to that, within the past 2 years, every time I've done something being led by the Spirit to do it that defies my logic, then I get this flood of synchronicity in 111, 1111, 444. Them be the main ones, you know what I'm saying? Every time I leave a job or I take a calculated spiritual risk, every time and I'm not doing it purposely trying to make it happen. I'll pick my phone up, it's 1111. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll just so happen to ride past a road that I always ride past, and the road will be 333. You know what I mean? There is absolutely look, the word commands to fear not. There's nothing to fear. It's real, but it ain't real. You know what I'm saying? I am and I ain't at the same time. I've noticed the duality with myself when I got off drugs and stopped suppressing myself. I care and I don't give a at the same time. You know what I'm saying? This is like my brain like this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I think this is being revealed to me now, or us now, because it's the appointed time. This couldn't have happened in the 60s because it was a different spirit then. What's going on now is now triggering something in our spiritual genetics that is forcing us to wake up. You know what I mean? Just like we couldn't do what we did in the 60s now because it's a different spiritual environment. The spiritual environment is causing a change for our better. We've been rejected by the world so much that as we now see from the outside looking in the world falling apart, I don't want nothing to do with the world. So you can't tempt me with a Shannon Sharp tactic. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna happen. And I'm confident it ain't gonna happen. Because my spirit don't agree with it. I guess duality, higher frequency, lower frequency. You always have to deal with your flesh while you're encased in this avatar here. But that's not what my spirit wants. My spirit not attracted to it, even though it might look great. You know what I'm saying? Or even though it might get, or what she say, he wanted Shannon put a Doug collar on. That appeal to his lower nature, which blocked his higher nature or whatever the case may be. Because Shannon Sharp could probably get any type of woman he wants. But again, in the suppression of things, I heard him say something to the effect of, he don't want to date his age, he want to date his wage. That's a Babylonian construct. Which means basically he's saying you want to trick off or whatever the case. I've never known a man to trick off and have success at it, or it don't come back and bite him in his hind part. You know what I'm saying? But he could probably, being Shannon Sharp and not operating in that lower nature of Babylonian tricking, he could probably just walk into a Walmart and probably get any woman to Woo da woo da woo da woo da woo. You know what I'm saying? But these brothers, because of the indoctrination of our lower nature, I've heard brothers talk about trigger. Like if you go into like Kevin Samuels and them, they started changing their rhetoric to get a whole bunch of money to buy the best harlots. And you see what happened to him. And we ain't heard nothing else from the harlot he was with. Nah, man, that ain't that there, man. Nah. And then I noticed, right, as I began to evolve, not realizing it, I anger the Jezebel spirit. So it's not the person I'm looking at that's the enemy. It's the spirit inhabiting them that has been influenced by the culture. That's why I notice now, I'm like, if the energy ain't right, I can't be there. Now, if it's something the Most High set in order, I'll be able to manage and do whatever. But purposely, it's not. Let's say, okay, the proverbial black woman, right? It's not that I don't like her. I don't like the spirit that's operating in her because she's drunken from the fornication of the wine of Babylon. Woo! That's what that there be. Because the weapons of our warfare aren't carnal. They're spiritual. The whole demonstration spiritual at this point, yo. Just like when I went to the surprise birthday party for my man Blue Hundo in Baltimore. My plan, show some love, give him his gift, shuck and jive a little bit, get gone. But my plan went awry because the environment, the energy was such, I had to bask in it. You know what I mean? That's why they keep trying to push. That's why I thought that was tripping to myself, where I personally know of like mental health providers who they themselves on mental health medication. How you teach me about depression or how to manage cope, woo woo woo, but you yourself take meds for depression. These same people were asking me for advice. I ain't been to school for none of it, but I ain't gotta go to school for it because the Most High walked me through a path where I had the experience to know what to do. That's all prayer to the Most High, cuz. Just like I made a video a while back, all roads lead to Rome because of the subversion of stuff. They're funneling you that way, even or like how they refer to us as sheep. But in reality, nature, food, plants, the healing properties thereof are all to lead you to Yah. It ain't, it ain't but two ways. Get down or lay down. Either you is or you ain't. Either you over here. I think that's why the Most High gets so mad when he say we lukewarm. You either with me or you with the op. Which one is it, cuz? You know what I'm saying? That straddling the fence don't work. It don't work in your practical life. You can't straddle the fence in your relationship. Or you can't straddle the fence as far as your duties at work or in your business. You either need to be some poop or try to be the best you can be. You ever notice that? You ever know when you're on a job site, you got, the real hard worker and then you got the poop people. But you know who get caught in the wash more oftentimes than not? The people who just do just enough. You know what I mean? If you think about it. Yo, wow, yo. But these epiphanies all come to me almost like when it said after John the Baptist, or as I read it in my other version, I forgot the Hebrew name, but it called him the immerser. After that, the dove, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. And then it said the Spirit led him into the world to be tempted. So then after he beat the temptation and from fasting and purged his flesh and all that, then his public ministry begins. You know what I'm saying, me? But the Spirit led him to be tempted, to test him. Or, well, the Most High don't test us, but he had to go through that process. He had to pass that test. Because if he don't pass that test, he can't start the public ministry. Just like in a video game, you got to, okay, I beat the first board, but whatever I do in the first board to beat that, give me certain skills that I need to start off the second board. You know what I mean? Like if I don't go through all the stuff I pray to get out of, I'm not able to function now at such an integral point in human history where everything's alive. You don't know what's true no more coming out of the world. Elon stepped down, or is he not? You know what I'm saying? Trump said he talked to China. Chinese people say, man, that man ain't said nothing to us. You know what I'm saying? Are there tariffs? Are there not? I don't know if they're going on here. You know what I'm saying? but they supposed to be implemented. So which one is it? Tariffs on, but I ain't seen it yet. You know what I'm saying? Keeping us in this state of not knowing what's true. Here's what's true. The truth inside of you. And on that note, man, I'm going to leave because I'm on fire and I got to do these push-ups before it start raining. Man, one love, I'm coming back. I'll probably piggyback this on a live sometime tomorrow. Show you right. Cause I feel like I was preaching on this junk. You feel me, cuz? On that note, man, one love, cover your six. Signing off. Ooh,